Okay, so she is not here at this time. Ms. Heffley?
Here.
Mr. Howland?
Here.
Mr. Lenard?
Here.
Mr. Minoski?
Here.
Mr. Siziani?
Here.
Mr. Sandvisky?
Here.
Mrs. Washner?
Here.
Mayor Kuzic?
Here.
Solicitor Rakunas?
Here.
For the record, EAS Borchek is here. Our engineer, John Rusnak, could not make it because he had a conflict with another meeting, which he will clear up by next month. I'll be doing the engineer's report. We do have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. This is the time for public contribution. If anybody would like to speak, Jane. Hello. You have to sign in and you have 30 seconds. I'm sorry, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Could you announce on who on what committees after I'm done speaking, so we know who's the chair of what and who's on what, so the residents know. And my second point is, I'll make this very fast too. I noticed on your agenda that you are going to vote on keeping CEC as our streetscape, and I really wish council would reconsider. They have not produced as well as they should have this last year and a half. When they first put their RFP out in December 2011, they said it would take a total of 9 months from the beginning until we got the drawings. It actually took from December 2011 until August 2013. So that's a lot longer than 9 months. They've missed 3 dates that they should have their work done on. And I think any time we spend $24,000, and this is a new phase, this is phase 2, so you don't have to keep the same engineer or designers. So I think at $24,000, we really should be sending out RFP before we decide this tonight. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm George Dudash. I'm the owner of Northwest EMS. Some of you guys know me already. I know there's some new people on the council now. I forgot to introduce myself. I haven't been around much lately. I got elected to the school board back in December of 2010, and yeah, my schedule really went bad. So yeah, and nobody warned me against getting into politics. I don't think. But anyway, it's been real interesting. But anyway, I figured I better stop by and introduce myself. I also have copies of our report for everybody, that way you can know what's going on with the EMS. If you want to hand them out now or after the meeting or whatever, it's not a big deal. The other thing I'd like to mention is that my business partner, Dave Gallagher, I don't know, there may be some rumors going around, maybe not. He's starting a new job on February the 10th. He's going to be Deputy Fire Commissioner responsible for EMS for the city of Philadelphia. So he's still going to be officially a consultant with us, but that's a pretty big move from 65,000 population to 1.6 million, but he's going to be responsible for kind of trying to move their EMS into the future. So kind of bragging about that, raising from a pup. So that's about it. Should I pass this out right now? Okay, cool. And I'd also like to mention too, if you guys have any questions or concerns, phone numbers are in there. Can I just leave this? Yes. So you can call anytime, and we'll be glad to help you out with that. This is like the first time I've had a chance in like years. Yeah, so yeah, please feel free to call us anytime. We like to keep small problems from becoming big ones. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else like to speak?
Connie Wright at Arch Avenue. I also was really surprised to see this motion on here awarding a contract for the second phase of the streetscape. I was not aware that we had solicited proposals from engineering or design firms for that work. Did we actually do a request for proposals from multiple firms?
May I interject here? First off, the answer is no to that question. We did not. This project technically is Quaker Valley Council of Governments project on behalf of Bellevue Borough. So the that requirement that you normally see is not a requirement. did take the liberty of talking to HRG, our engineer, about, I knew there was some criticisms and some dissatisfaction with CEC's performance on phase one. So I solicited our engineer to try to suggest that to Quaker Valley Cog. Our engineer, John Rusnak, and I reiterated with him today, said that his engineering firm is absolutely capable of doing the project, but it would be quite a task to get up to speed because the first phase, they technically have designed the entire streetscape, phase 1, 2, however many phases there are. So that whole design has been submitted. The proposal or the scope of work that you see is simply to do phase 2. He told me they're willing to do it, but he surmised that any other company would charge several thousand more to get up to speed because CEC is already in progress. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the facts that I've been able to.
It does. I just know that when we initially awarded this contract back in 2011, a number of firms were contacted.
Yes.
And I would want Bellevue to be sure that we were in fact getting the best price. I see no harm in putting this out to multiple engineering firms just to get a quote and some input from them, simply because there have been some questions. And I also had concerns, and if we are going to enter into a contract with CEC again, I hope that the solicitor will address some of these issues in that contract because of the failure to meet critical deadlines. When CEC got this contract in December of 2011, they did not start the streetscape study process until June. The final plan was due at the county at the end of September. That plan...
I'm sorry. I apologize. We might as well just shut the microphones down because they're more of an annoyance. There's some feedback that I'm not going to be able to control. I'm sorry, Connie. I want to make sure that
You can hear. That's not a problem. No, I went through all my emails today because I was the organizational chair of the Business District Advisory Committee at the time. The work to even begin the very first steps of the first phase of the streetscape did not occur until 6 months after the contract was awarded and 3 months before the entire project had to be submitted to the county. Of course, that wasn't done. We were supposed to be doing construction last spring, about the time we finally got the plans. Then we're supposed to be doing some construction this fall. We still don't have any construction done on a contract that was awarded in December of 2011. Now, there may be perfectly reasonable explanations for these delays. When I was in charge of BDAC, I heard none. I sent multiple emails to Mrs. Washner and to Mr. Sample at the time, asking them, what are we doing with the streetscape? We've got a September 30th deadline. Why isn't anything happening? Nobody's even come to BDAC. And BDAC was the one that vetted all of the design firms to begin with. And then we were sort of like cut out of the process. And there's just some concerns here. So I'm saying if we really, truly believe, and I would get prices first to make sure we're getting the absolute best price, and I think it's negligent if we don't do that. If we do decide that CEC would be the most cost-efficient and best way to proceed with this contract, and I have no objection if that's the conclusion that council reaches, but something needs to be written into that contract about penalties for failure to make deadlines. So we cannot continue to be a year, 2 years behind in this funding project. You never know when these funds are going to run out. You've got to be on your toes, and this is ridiculous that we have been from 2011 to now into 2014 on $150,000 worth of construction. That's insane. So I'm just saying, proceed very carefully with it, and I would certainly want to see some other prices before I did anything.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, that's right, Jane, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, here are the committees and their members. DPW, the chair is Linda Washington, myself, and the members are myself and Vincent Manosky. Yes. And Parks and Recreation, the chair is Lynn Heffley, with Kathy Coder and Frank Camella. Public Safety, the chair is Jim Siciani, with Henry Lenard and Matt Savinsky. Finance chair is Kathy Coder, with Matt Savinsky and myself. Did you want to know the other one?
No, just.
Okay, that's it. There's other one. Okay.
Technically, shouldn't they all be made public?
If you'd like to advertise, sure, that's.
No, I think they should be on our website, but it should be a public thing. Normally, it's always announced, but it should be, at least put it on the website so people know.
Okay. Next is a review of prior meeting minutes. Is there any discussion, questions about prior meeting?
There aren't.
There are.
There aren't any minutes published with this. I'm not off to that, it's
Next, a motion to approve payment of January bill list. Can I have a motion?
Motion to pay the bills for January.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payment of the January bill list. We need a roll call.
well, first to be all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Heffley.
Aye.
Mr. Hubler.
Aye.
Mr. Lenard. Aye. Mr. Manosky. Mr. Siciani.
Aye.
Mr. Sandvisky. Mrs. Washington.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next are reports. We have the mayor's report. Do you have anything to report?
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time. Treasurer? Well, we don't have a treasurer, do we? Yeah.
There was a treasurer's report with January's, Ann and I are trying to put that together for the February cycle of meetings.
Any questions?
What is the status of replacing the treasurer? Where are we at?
I've got 2 applicants. I'm probably going to rerun the ad to try to get a little more of an applicant pool. I've got a couple other people to call, but nothing, I won't say nothing serious, but I would like to get a little better applicant pool. So perhaps I can,
Who's taking care of that?
right now, it's being taken care of by myself, Ann Moss, and the mayor is being extremely helpful in the interim. Yes.
Okay. Next, the tax collector's report. Right. Administration?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have several items, beginning with, I'd like to request from council a motion to designate myself as the agent of Bellevue Borough to execute coordinated documents for the obtaining financial assistance. I'd like to give you a report on that before we entertain the motion. July 10th, we had a rain event that was declared a federal disaster, as I've reported in several meetings. We submitted $17,825 worth of invoices for reimbursement from the federal government. Normally, the federal government reimburses 75% of that. The Governor Corbett has been gracious enough to have the state reimburse us the 25% deductible. So we, with all of this, will get all $17,000+ reimbursed by FEMA. It was basically for excavation at West Bellevue Station to keep erosion from hitting our sanitary sewer line and causing a huge problem down in there. I have had 2 face-to-face meetings with FEMA in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Actually had a telephone exit interview and have submitted the paperwork to them. FEMA is now satisfied, and I am told to wait for a package in the mail from them. I have until February 14th to submit, basically I have to do the same documentation for the state to get the other 25%. The resolution that I'm asking to get passed is for disaster DR 4149. It is designating me to be permitted to execute all paperwork in this disaster, and if this is passed, I will need at least 5 council signatures on this to execute it. This will be part of the packet, as well as a signed, basically a contract saying we understand that we are subject to audit, that we'll keep the report reports around for 7 years, all the semantics of bookkeeping, and they're subject to a possible audit, which they claim they never do. So I again, go back to asking council to make a motion designating me to do all the paperwork for FEMA disaster DR forward format.
All right. I'm gonna make a motion to approve Ron Borzak as an agent for Bellevue in this matter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Ron Borchak, start as the agent for Bellevue Borough to execute all required forms and documents for the purpose of obtaining financial assistance for FEMA. Is it FEMA?
No, but it's FEMA and PEMA.
Okay.
But yeah, it's PEMA for this document, the reimbursement is from both. This one is particularly for the Pennsylvania emergency.
I didn't have my glasses.
That's okay, that's okay.
Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays?
And this is not spending of money, I don't know, do we want to do a?
No.
Okay, well, thank you. I do have several other items, if I may, Mr. President. First, I wanted to discuss with council where we are as far as salt and usage of salt. I sat down with Joe Wright on Thursday and had some fairly good news. He had told me that as of Thursday, we had used about as much salt as we used all last winter. If you projected that out, that means that we probably would use about 35% more than we used in a normal winter. Unfortunately, the weekend came up. He told me that the salt that we had stockpiled on Thursday, with normal circumstances, may even last the rest of the winter. Then came the weekend, and we've used our salt supplies and are in the process of ordering. That being said, I'd like to give you better figures come council, come the committees and the pre-council. I'll assess all that for next week, but all the good news I was going to give you got very bad with the storm. It snowed constantly from Saturday morning through Sunday evening, and we had crews out around the clock keeping the roads safe, and they did a fine job. What I will say is, as far as our contract, when we negotiate our contract, we contract to use anywhere between 80 and 125% of a projection in salt. So basically, if we have a winter that's 25% over or 20% under our projection, and we've got a science doing it, we'll get salt at a negotiated rate, which is now $57.42 a ton. As of the weekend, we've now gone into a level 1, which is the area between 125% and 140% of your projection. That adds a 10% add-on to the cost per ton of salt. Takes it up to just over $62 a ton. So we are currently paying. Sorry, I'm going to keep that open in case Kathy does that. So we are now in the area between 25% over our projection in salt usage and 40% over. Not a real bad issue to be saving, to be paying an extra 10%. It does guarantee us delivery when we need it, which is pretty critical right now. Again, I'm not sure where we are at that point. I'll have that figure for next week. Once we hit the 140%, the whole dance changes. If we go over 140% of our projected usage, the cost per ton of salt goes to $81.62 per ton. So, that being said, we're looking real close we're going to try to manage our inventories very closely to try to get either not over that 140% or as little as we can. I'm going to try to keep inventories as low as I can and kind of strategize that after August, when the new year comes in, that we'll build up our stockpiles at that time. I cannot predict the rest of the winter, as we couldn't predict this weekend. So trust that our people are all aware that we've got to be real careful to try to keep our stockpiles a little lower once the weather forecast straightens out. But should we get to the 140%, we're going to really be paying a premium. So will everybody else. This is through the SHACOG. Again, don't know where we are. I'm going to try to give you some idea in figures through the committee meeting and through the pre-council next month. But I wanted to let you folks know that if this winter continues to be bad, we're going to be paying some pretty heavy prices for salt. But we have no choice. To go out on the open market, I'm hearing that it's anywhere from $120 to $140 per ton of salt. So we're still getting better than your general contractor's going to have to get it. But costly if we get many more snows like we got this week. So I hope does anybody have any questions? I know I'm hitting you with a lot of things. Yes?
How many miles of road do we have? I've heard 20 and I've heard 40. 18 miles of roads? Okay.
Okay, well, all right, any others? Okay, another item is, very quickly, I have a revised real estate tax refund resolution on everyone's desk, and at the appropriate time, I would like to entertain a motion, hopefully in the finance area of that, to pass that resolution so that we can issue the appropriate real estate tax refunds. Most of those arrived to us very late in the game from the tax collector. And I wanted to get everybody that was eligible into this meeting because we basically haven't had a council meeting, a regular council meeting since December.
Can SharePoint be updated with this?
Yes, we just got it the last couple
And
of
with
days.
the amounts?
Okay, will do. So I would ask that maybe Matt, you include that as part of your motions and take over finance. The last item is the engineer's report. John Rusnak had a conflict with a very important planning meeting in another community that he couldn't change. There is a written engineer's report. I went over all of these items, the most critical being the DCNR revised scope of work for phase 2 of the skate park. It's down under miscellaneous project work, the second item. John is going to submit an actual plan for phase 2 of the skate park in our Parks and Rec Committee meeting, and that will be before council at the pre-council next month with drawings so that we have an idea of what he is suggesting that we do for the $60,000 that we're getting from DCNR. Other than that, most of those are items that are active, that aren't critical from a time standpoint, and I went over the West Bellevue station in my FEMA report. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Yes. And next we have the engineer. You just talked about the library. Any questions about the library? Council,
If there were any special council items that want to be brought up, this would have been appropriate.
Anybody have any special council items?
I attended the intergovernmental committee, the mayor and I, and one of the things that we discussed is that our students and our superintendent would like to highlight the school, and we're looking for business people and real estate people, as you know, to attend. But before we actually have the students put together and a program, we would like to have the commitment of like 8 or 9 professionals in real estate or in business. So if we can have some of those step up, commit to, it would be in April, and it would be at lunchtime, it would be a lunch, an optional tour of the school. The students would highlight the school and kind of, answer any questions that people have. Sometimes we've got, rumors of things going on, and evidently that's not the, case. So they want to showcase what they have in our schools and what a great system we do have. So if some business people or some real estate people would step up, and then we could put on that program and highlight the advantages of being at Northgate. So, please let me know or the superintendent of Northgate. Thank you.
That's a great idea. So, Linda, do you have any other way to get the word out, an idea to get volunteers?
Well, I've already talked to a couple of real estate people, so, but I do not have another way. I've done a couple of real estate transactions, and I'm going to be contacting them as well. But that's about it. So I was hoping maybe through the chamber, if you could ask some of those people. We need about 8 or 9 to commit so that we know it's worthwhile for the superintendent and the students to put together the program.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next, we have on here the fire department, and I guess that would be, sometimes we do this under public safety, we do it now under separate, so. What's that? Yeah, you might as well do it now, and if you want to make these motions, Jim, to get them started.
Okay. First motion is a motion to scrap the decommissioned fire
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to scrap the decommissioned fire truck on DPW parking lot. Discussion on that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion passes. Okay, next one.
Motion to approve Lieutenant Bill Hartman's attendance at the Fire Department Instructors Conference in April for a total of, what is this, 3114.74, general fund budget item 01.4, 11.461.
We have a second? Motion?
Second.
Second. It's been moved, the motion has been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, discussion. I see the memo from Lieutenant to Ron. It never says what the conference is. I didn't do any research to determine it's in Indianapolis, Indiana. Does that mean we're going to be paying travel expenses as well, or just the hotel? I mean, I think when we get requests like this, we must have more detailed information. I looked at this, I thought maybe it's in New Orleans, maybe it's downtown, it's in another state. Before I approve this, I need the details.
Good question. Ron, can you
Yeah,
answer?
actually, Jim.
Usually if you use your own vehicle to go to a conference, you're paid mileage.
Was that how it was?
Is that how it's getting there?
Where is this?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, it's down.
When we've gone to say Seven Springs or anywhere from here, our mileage was paid, our hotel was paid, and the conference.
Do we know how it's getting to Indiana? I believe he was taking this person. And what is the mileage rate? The mileage rate
Yeah, so
There are guidelines on mileage, Henry. So you couldn't charge an exorbitant amount. It goes up and down. It's usually the federal government had guidelines. Now, we don't usually go that high.
So the
No,
IRS
no,
rate's
we know
56
exactly
cents, that's
what
what
it
you're.
is.
So do we?
Yes, yes. I have a question. I mean, $287 a night?
You were not the only to ask that question.
That's actually legitimate. I went on the internet, I looked at Holiday Inn Express. The Holiday Inn Express right next to the convention center, it's $290 a night. So it is a legitimate fee.
Oh my goodness.
But the point being, I should be the one going on the internet to do this information research. They should be doing what is good information.
Okay, so basically we need a summary of the breakdown of expenses, why it's this amount. So is that possible? Can this be relayed to?
Can we say up to a specific amount? Can we make a motion up to a specific amount?
When is it?
I would like to suggest we defer this to the next public safety meeting.
We got time.
It's not too late, we'll be rushing to this. This is the first time it's happened to us tonight. And it's a public safety meeting, public safety meeting.
Because it was discussed at the public safety.
It was not.
Not even, my apologies.
Okay.
We'll get into more detail.
Is that enough time to do it? Okay, so we'll table this for now.
We can always make the reservations and cancel the timings and all that.
Good idea. I think just a breakdown of the environment.
Mark,
Thank you.
Jim said that it was
I
discussed.
think we did discuss that, didn't we? We didn't set it up, I don't believe we set an amount.
I don't see on the agenda, I don't recall.
I don't recall it.
That was there. I would remember that.
Well, let's get the breakdown and then,
Okay.
Vincent.
I did some research as well. Of course, with something of this nature, there's a lot of people coming from the nation to that one spot, so the hotels are filling up pretty quickly. So if you go online to where they say you could get like a discount rate, they show you the ones that are not available at the hotels, but doing some research, I found that the $286 a night room was like the second highest. There are a lot of cheaper ones for $100, $150, that still would provide shuttle service to the conventions and stuff. So there are some options there. So
Thank you. Thank you. So if we get a report on that.
Mark wants to withdraw the motion.
Jim, can you withdraw your motion, please?
Yeah, I'll just.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next, under code enforcement, that fall on you too, Jim.
Motion to approve the parts for the repair of the 2009 Charger from Mixed North Hills Chrysler in the amount not to exceed $3,000. A general fund budget item is 01.410.251.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Questions? Linda?
charger situation. Have you checked with other police departments as to what cars they've been successful with, and those maybe that have the caprices, you know, what their experience has been?
This is not the police car. This is for code enforcement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is rehab of the charge.
You know what, I guess I'll be asking that whenever we
Yeah,
talk
the answer
about
is
that.
yes.
Sorry about
The
that,
answer
that
is
was
yes.
on my mind.
The answer is extremely yes. Stack.
So be ready for it, because I'm gonna ask that same exact question, sorry about that.
Any more questions? Any other questions on this? All those in favor say aye. Nays?
And we should do a roll vote.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Heffley. Mr. Heldman.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard. Mr. Manosky. Mr. Siziani.
Aye.
Mr. Sanvisky. Mrs. Washner. Motion carries.
Okay, next are the committee chair reports. First is finance, and Kathy Coder is not here, so I'll ask Matt to make these motions. You get the best one.
Thank you. We have three motions from the finance. The first one is a motion to approve the CE proposal for professional services for Phase 2 streetscape in the amount of $24,250.
Have a second on the motion. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. That's one I'm in most discussion. It's important. Yes, Lynn.
Okay. First of all, I do believe we should do an RFP. We did the RFP in the beginning we did the RFP, and I know BDAC handled it, so I can't see why we can't be doing the same thing. Personally, it should come through council, and it's a $24,000 contract, and we owe it to the taxpayer to be able to know, you know, are we getting the best deal for our money. Also, that particular company was the highest of the three when we did the initial contract. Also, this would eliminate any questions about impropriety, since the design architect and his wife supported and contributed to a councilperson's campaign for 2 public offices. Also, they have relationships with a few council people. Also, due to the scheduling, we had to get many extensions, and I was calling the county, I was calling the COG, John Tequila, I talked to the project manager, I talked to the person above the project manager, so I was on the phone constantly about this, and when he initially made the proposal, it was supposed to be done in 9 months, and it didn't happen in 9 months, as it was said by either Connie or Jane. So I think we need to check that, and we do need to have in the contract time limits, no matter who it is. And I have asked numerous times, and I have yet to have a copy of the final design. I don't have a copy of the final design. And I was president at the time and didn't have the final design. So I think we do need to look a little further, and I think it's something that we owe to the taxpayer.
Okay, then.
Just wanted to ask Ron, you said because it went through the car, proposals were not needed?
Well, I didn't say they weren't needed. I said that I believe the bidding must be done through the COG, and I'm not sure how BDAC did that last time. I'm guessing the COG somehow delegated that.
Council did it.
Sorry?
Bellevue Council.
Okay. Well, I'll, depending on what the decision is here, I'll make sure that we do it.
So we do have the option though to go out and solicit.
Apparently we do. Apparently we do.
And I think we owe it to the taxpayer. I agree. Especially with the history we've had with this firm.
Matt?
As a new person on the council, I was curious as to why they were the highest to come in with their RFP. And they had all these other problems with dealing with other people on council. Why did they get picked?
Quick question.
You were saying they were highest price when we
They were, yes, they were. They were 4,000 more than the next one. Yes.
But they were.
Why did
Okay, well, I believe in the minutes it stated that they felt that they had a preliminary plan and the other 2 didn't.
concerns or issues that we had with them. The time frame, I don't know if they were part of the holdback. I know council was up in arms about different issues about it. It took some time to discuss items that, bump ads in certain areas of concern. So I don't know if it was necessarily CEC that took the time, it was a combination of council and CNC. So do we have a list saying what we feel CNC are guilty of?
Can I answer that?
Yes, well, Paul was next. She can, okay. And I want to make sure everybody just wait till I call you, please. Okay.
She can answer.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I was president of council at the time, and when the COG told me that we had to vote on it, and there was an interim manager, we voted on it. As for the bump outs, that did, and my personal opinion now, this is my opinion, we voted on it in April, whenever I was told by the COG director and the borough manager that we needed to vote on this, and we did in April. It took him, the design engineer, my personal opinion now, probably about a month and a half or so to get enough votes, and then the vote was changed on the bump out. So that probably only added 6 weeks to 2 months to it. Then after it was voted on in May, we didn't get the final design or preliminary design. It wasn't until the beginning of August, and I had to specifically ask for it because somehow he sent it on, but I didn't get a copy of it. But it was just a constant. The meeting after meeting, and we all went to the meetings. He knew exactly what was going on. And how many meetings does it take? I do not believe that it was anything to do with council. When we were told we had to vote on it, we voted on it. But we still, I didn't even get a copy of the final design. So, what is the reasoning for that? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, just one thing I'm concerned with is that because of the way it went through council, we almost lost it. We are still this close to losing part of this money. I ask you to get this through and get it done and work with the, I don't care whether you go with CDC or anybody else. You have to do and protect the citizens or the taxpayers. I understand that. But if we screw this up again, Allegheny County is not only going to withdraw this, don't expect to get more in the future. I think we have to work a little more efficiently than we did last time. It did not work, and we came that close, and we're still that close to losing.
Two things. I think a lot of the delays, as Linda said, weren't council's fault. It was the CBC's fault.
That's what I said.
Right.
But still, county doesn't care.
I know, but I'm just saying, I care morally that it wasn't really us holding it up. But besides that, do we have a deadline now that?
No, all I'm told is, they would like to get that process, much like we're saying, that process going a lot quicker than phase one. I know that the money has not been released, but they're anxious to get the specs so they can turn them into, get the engineering awards so they can turn it into specs and get it to the county for approval and get things. Everyone is concerned about the same thing, that this process doesn't take a year and a half, 2 years, because it should one way or another.
But do we have enough time to seek proposals?
I don't know the answer to that, but what I can do is do the research like I will and bring it to committee next week. I'll go to the COG and I'll go to all my sources and see what the process is to get that to go on committee.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, Paul. I don't want to approve this just so we don't lose money when we're going to be involved with maybe something we don't want to be involved with, and we're going to pay more money in the long run.
Right.
Maybe.
I totally agree. I just mean, there is a sense of urgency on this.
Anybody else? Linda?
One of the things, we pay people to keep us on track. So I think we shouldn't have been making phone calls. He should have been saying to me, hey Linda, we got to get this done. We pay them to do that. But also, I'd like to know what the deadlines are. I didn't know that we were that close what to do with the RFP, what we need to do in the contract, that is actually in the contract what our deadlines are, so we can be very specific. Because I guess we didn't do that the last time, so let's learn from our errors and change it this next time.
Anybody else? Benson?
Do we have other companies in mind?
Well, that's what we have to put out RFP to get them to do, and that takes time.
And then if another company takes it over, I guess we have to see when the deadline is to see if they ever see the plans and what their bid, and so it might take. So I guess the important thing is to find out when the deadline is to see if we can even make a proposal.
Thank you. Anybody else on this?
Can we start? While he's looking into it. can we
Yes,
start?
if I may comment. Again,
Yes.
having not been involved in that process, I'll just get everybody smarted out, get all that information, so thank you all.
I was gonna say, well, you're looking into that. In case we want to, should we start the process to draw up the RFP so that we're not losing another month's time?
If that's what the council wants to do.
I'd like to make a motion that we.
Well, we said
Oh, sorry, there is a
I
motion.
mean, I have to respond on this one too, so.
No, the motion has to be withdrawn before we make a motion.
All right, okay, so that question, any other comments about it? So I appreciate both sides of this story, and, I think I myself lean more towards keeping who we have and putting restraints and restrictions in the contract, making sure it gets done on time. I know that it's possible there were various reasons it was delayed. I think there were times that people couldn't make the street walks and things like that. I know there was the fault, I'm not saying fault, but I think things happen on both sides, as Vince was asking. And, and I don't have all that particular perfect information, but going forward, I think it's rough to change the contractor at this point. I mean, the architectural firm, and knowing that they have it done and all that. So one of my first questions to you, Ron, is there a perspective, so to speak, from COG that they would prefer to keep, or, you get any indication from them if we were to change?
The COG, absolutely. The COG is more concerned than Paul or anyone here about expediting phase 2 and prohibiting any further delay in that process so that we can improve our posture, not just on phase 2 of the contract, but with the county, and frankly, this money comes from the federal government through the county. So when I've spoken with the COG, it's generally been, my feedback was, look, we have to go as fast as we can to kind of make up time. So they are in support of, they've had no issues with CEC once it's gotten to their level. Matter of fact, John is somewhat complimentary. John Jaquila, the COG Executive Director, has been somewhat complimentary, but understand, he gets it, everything after it's gone through the process and the evaluation and the accumulation of council. So.
Okay. I wasn't, I'll go to you.
Okay, first of all, we're speculating here. We need to know what the deadlines are. And John Jaquila certainly knows what we went through because he was part of the process. But it's still $24,000. And $24,000 we owe it to the taxpayer. That's a lot of money to me. And we owe it to the taxpayer to know, is the taxpayer getting the best that they can for the money? But we can't do anything without knowing deadlines. I mean, how can we say anything? We don't know what the deadlines are.
Okay, so do we want to just withdraw this motion for now? And get that information, or do we want to know?
I think it'd be wise to withdraw the motion.
You make a motion, Jim.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
All right, now we'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, the motion's been withdrawn. So my understanding is that Ron, you're going to get information as fast as possible.
I will have it prepared for the committee meeting for Public Works next Tuesday. I feel very confident I can get information in that meeting to move forward.
And then also, could you just provide everyone information about approximately how long that process would take
Will do.
to do the RFPs, get bids
week, I mean, because it's really not in the personnel system. And we have in there that they are to have, to do what, you know, is asked of them by the DAS. So do we need to even have that as part of that motion?
You mean just to read it? It's written there, but you.
No, I know, but do we need to have it as part of the motion, because it's not in the personnel system, and in the personnel system, it does state that they are to do anything and all that is, I think it is in there. Okay, because we've done that on any of the new ones, and that was a newer job description, that, you know, whatever is directed by the DAS.
Okay.
Just read the whole book.
No, I said take
No,
out
she said
clerical
take out the
duties
last
from the
sentence.
police department. Do we need to have that in there, because it's not part of the personnel system? And so it's implied that they are to do any and all. Does it matter?
Doesn't really matter, I don't think. As long as you state the first part that it's permitted by the DAS, then that's how.
Well,
That's
that's
how
part,
it is.
that's part of the personnel system.
That's how he's read it.
And if I may clarify, the only reason I did that was to make, frankly, so that the police budget was appropriately charged for that period of time. Sorry. I'm going to disconnect if it's okay with everyone, because I don't think she's going to make it. No one there?
Are you okay with that?
I just would like that sentence not to be in there. That's all I'm asking.
We okay with deleting that sentence? Okay, so that sentence is deleted, the last sentence. And it wasn't read anyway, so we'll scratch it off the page. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries.
Probably should do roll call vote because it is an expense.
I was just gonna say that.
I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to leave it there. Dancing.
all right, roll call, please.
Thank you. Ms. Heflin. Mr. Halvin.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Minoski. Mr. Sizian.
Aye.
Mr. Sandusky. Mrs. Washington.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next committee is Parks and Recreation.
I have one more motion.
Oh,
The one that Ryan brought up.
oh, I'm sorry.
And that motion is for the refund of real estate taxes as a result of changing in assessed values. There's more to it than that, but
That copy's on everyone's desk.
Do we have a second for the resolution on refund of real estate? It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Nays? Roll call, please.
Ms. Heflin.
Aye.
Mr. Halvin.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard. Mr. Minoski. Mr. Sizian. Mr. Sandusky. Mrs. Washington.
Abstain. And I abstain because one of my meetings is on.
Motion carries 6 ayes, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Matt. Next is Parks and Recreation. Lynn,
We have two motions. The first one is a motion to approve a request from Carnegie Mellon University to use Bellevue Memorial Park Field on March 29th, 30th, and April 6th for spring baseball.
second on the motion. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on this motion?
Just a question, are we getting reimbursed for that, pay for that?
We do.
How much?
I don't know the number, it's been something, I'll get that for you, but it's not a whole bunch of money, but it is reimbursement, basically covering utilities and their efforts to keep the meeting $200.
Jim?
This was recommended by Parks and Recreation.
They've used it for a number of years.
When these things come up, whether it's CMU or whatever, I think it's just a matter of administration. Anybody requesting a field, we do that with the high school, with the federation, with everybody. Is it necessary to bring something like this to council all the time?
I think it might be, Jim, because sometimes scheduling, things that we don't know about, other things going on. Maybe it's just a savings.
Couldn't administration give us a report, or give public Parks and Recreation a report every month or something, and this is what's being, all that it's being used for, and
Linda, go on, read it.
Couldn't it be at a committee level?
yeah.
It's the same.
I mean, it's really a public park, it should be approved, even if the committee recommends it, I think, this is the procedure I always know municipalities to follow, and for instance, maybe it's generally approved by governing body, since it's a public park. So that's how it's always handled in many municipalities that I think.
Vincent?
maybe want to do something like that, where they can list, you know, when the park is being used, when they know things are being used, and that way they can just go there and say, okay, you can use it or not, with their calendar too.
Good idea. Okay. So Parks and probably establishing a whole calendar for the year. Okay, good. All right, thank you. Anybody else on this? My question is, every year, I think Frank asks this question. Does it interfere with our teams at all, like Northgate's using the field?
I think that was checked.
Yeah, generally Kathy Halligan keeps, is the keeper, and she does have a system, which I'm sure we can get processed to communicate with Parks and Rec. But Kathy keeps that report and has an idea in her head of who needs it when, and I kind of go to her and say, is this legit? And she goes, yes, this is something that's good. If it's not, she'll point that out. So what we have to do is get that on paper so that we can.
Yeah, I think that's the most important.
Mark, what I was told last year is that the athletic teams are aware of this. So it's not that it would interfere with their schedules.
Yeah, well, thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. There's no need for a roll.
All right, the second motion is I move to advertise for seasonal, this is not on your agenda. Move to advertise for seasonal summer employees, including the pool manager, the assistant manager, lifeguards, and pool staff.
Second.
That motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Nays? Motion carries.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Just wanted to announce, it has been talked about, but the 100th anniversary of Maine Library will come in May. A little celebration is set. The first brainstorming session will be held at the library this Friday, which is January 31st at 5 p.m. Any members of the community are invited to attend. Not sure what form the celebration is going to take yet, but that's what we're going to start on Friday.
Good. Thank you. Any questions for Parks and Rec? Thank you, Lynn. Okay, next is Public Works. Linda.
We have a motion to approve the hosting of the Quaker Valley Council of Governments Recycling Day on May 10th, 2014, from 9 o'clock a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the motion?
Can I mention a little bit about it?
Please.
Okay, it was very well attended. I mean, they are actually picking up tires, television sets, paint. What else was it, Ron? It's
Televisions, computers, paper, paint. That's the big four. The televisions are huge.
oh my gosh, there were tons of them.
Yes. And there's nowhere else to deposit them. We seem to have the only outsource for getting rid of televisions in the area.
And can we put that on our website?
Okay. The specific details aren't completely in focus. As soon as they are, there's a press release from the COG which will go on our website. And I'm guessing
we'll
that'll
need
be
volunteers too. So.
Any other questions for Public Works?
Did we vote on it?
Yes, sorry. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Anything else, Lynn?
Nope, nothing else for Public Works unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Next is Public Safety.
Motion to approve the purchase of a 2014 Chevrolet police vehicle from Bay Chevrolet, Inc. at a price of $36,748 to be financed with a 3-year lease. That's general fund budget item 410.700.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to purchase the 2014 Chevrolet Caprice. Discussion on the motion.
My question, please.
Yes.
You already know my questions.
Yes, I have researched it. There are essentially 3 sedans available right now. You've got the Ford, the Chevy, and the Dodge. Ford took away the Crown Victoria. They went to a smaller sedan.
Taurus.
It's on a Taurus, it's called the Interceptor package. I asked the dealer point blank, they sell both Ford and Chevy, which vehicle would they recommend? They said if we have officers over 6 foot tall, the Chevy Caprice is a no-brainer. I asked chiefs, Ohio Township is using 3 of them now, they like them. And the other advantage, right now with a Ford, we take our Ford to Moon Township Ford if it needs anything significant. And then I'll just go to Krebs on Route 8. We have a Chevy dealership right here. So it's the only full-size police package left, and I think it's the way to go.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Roll call, please.
Ms. Heffley?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Manovsky?
Aye.
Mr. Siziani?
Aye.
Mr. Sandusky? Mrs. Washner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, resolutions we already did.
One thing, under public safety,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
this week we received word that Northgate and basically us, we granted a $60,000 grant for the school resource officer from the state.
Yes.
So we will be receiving that. This is for the 2013-2014 school year.
Great.
So we got $60,000.
Did you say from the state?
I believe it's from the school, yes,
It's
from the
federal.
state, from the, no, I think
It's federal money, but the state put it in there it was a grant submitted by Northgate, and a cooperative grant, and we received it.
Great. Thank you. Okay, anything else for public safety? Sorry, I went too fast. Okay. Next, resolutions, we already covered the only resolution we have. Ordinance are none right now. Any old business? No. Any new business?
Supervisor for Public Works.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that committees. Okay. Thank you. Now it's time for public contribution. Anybody like to speak?
So I'm just kind of curious on the CEC proposal. If that gets put back out in an RFP, does that take us back to square one? So are we not paying somebody else to come in and do the same design work? What is the risk here of putting this out? I think we really need to look at that, as well as, and I understand we're looking at the deadlines with the county, but it seems to me that if we're cutting something off midstream and going back to square one, I sat in a few meetings when there was argument back and forth about bump outs, no bump outs, it get pushed month to month to month to month. You know, we need to move forward at some point. So I'm questioning the logic of going back to square one again. So I'd like to kind of have some conversation around it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I have a question for you guys. Can you hear us back there all the way back? Okay. Without the microphone? Good. We are going to go into an executive session for personnel matter. We will not adjourn until we come back out of there, so you're welcome to wait. We'll adjourn the meeting after. There'll be no action taken.